It hit me like a punch in the gut, sudden and unexpected. I had been scrolling through my feed, mindlessly passing the time, when her post appeared. It was one of those vacation shots, the perfect kind, the kind she'd shared hundreds of times before, tagged with a bright caption about relaxing and unwinding. A photo of her standing by the ocean, smiling in the sunlight, the wind catching her hair just the right way. It looked perfect. She looked perfect. But then I noticed the details. The ones that didn't add up. In the tags beneath the post, there were names I didn't recognize. A friend from work, sure, and a few mutual acquaintances. But then, there was one name, his. The name of someone I'd only heard mentioned a few times, the one she had been with long before me. The one whose presence still seemed to hover over our conversations, just out of sight but always there. And as I stared at those names, the realization settled in. This wasn't just a casual vacation. This wasn't just her hanging out with friends. It was something else. A piece of her past, wrapped up in a beautiful moment, buried beneath the image of carefree bliss. I clicked on the tagged photo. It was a group shot taken at some picturesque restaurant by the beach, the kind of place you see on travel blogs but never actually go to. They were all laughing, her face alight with joy, but in the background, there he was, the man she had loved before me. The one who had left his mark on her, the one she had never really talked about. I wasn't sure what stung more, the fact that I had never been told about him, or the realization that, despite the distance of time, he still had a place in her life. It was a simple thing, just a photo. But it shattered something I didn't even realize I had been clinging to, the idea that we were moving forward together, leaving behind the ghosts of her past. I sat there, staring at the screen, heart pounding, breath coming a little too quickly. She had shared so much of herself with me, so many pieces of her life, her thoughts, her dreams. But this wasn't something I had been a part of. This wasn't something I was meant to know. The tagged photos, the presence of his name, felt like a quiet betrayal, even though I knew it wasn't intentional. I tried to tell myself it was nothing, that it was just an innocent post, a snapshot of a trip. But my stomach twisted, and I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more to it. There always seemed to be more when it came to her past. And now, I was forced to confront it, the past that she had kept hidden, not out of malice, but out of a reluctance to let go. I should have called her right then, confronted her about it. But I didn't. I couldn't. Instead, I let the silence grow between us, wondering if I was just overthinking things. Maybe she had told me about this trip before, maybe I had heard about it and forgotten. But deep down, I knew that wasn't true. This wasn't something she had ever mentioned. I pushed myself to get out of the apartment. I needed to breathe, needed space. It felt like the walls were closing in, like everything I thought I knew about us was suddenly in question. I walked aimlessly through the streets, my mind racing. How could I even bring this up? How could I ask about something so ordinary, so innocent, yet so painful? The truth was, I didn't know if I wanted to know the answers. I didn't know if I wanted to hear her explain that this was just a coincidence, that he was just a friend, that the past didn't matter anymore. Because I didn't believe it. I sat in a park, my phone still clutched in my hand, unable to tear my gaze away from the post. I refreshed the page again, and there it was, the same photo, the same faces, the same vacation. The comments from her friends came pouring in, looks like a dream vacation, and so happy for you. But I wasn't happy. Not anymore. It wasn't just the photo, or the tag, or the names. It was the feeling that had been building inside me for weeks, the nagging thought that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't the only one who mattered. That maybe there were parts of her life that I would never have access to. I wasn't sure if I was jealous, or hurt, or just afraid of what this all meant. But I knew I couldn't just ignore it. I couldn't pretend that everything was fine when I knew there were pieces of the puzzle missing. I couldn't tell myself it didn't matter when the truth was staring me in the face. And as much as I hated it, as much as I tried to push the thoughts out of my mind, I knew something had changed. When I finally returned home, she was there, sitting on the couch, reading a book, completely unaware of the storm that had been brewing inside me. I walked in slowly, trying to act normal, trying to push down the anxiety that had built up over the past few hours. She looked up at me, smiling, and for a moment, everything felt right again. But then my gaze fell to her phone, lying on the table beside her, and I felt that familiar tightness in my chest. I could see the notification still there, still waiting for me to react. "Hey," I said, my voice sounding off even to my own ears. "I saw your post earlier." She put the book down, looking at me curiously. "Oh? The one from the beach?" I nodded, trying to keep my voice steady. Yeah. It was great. Looks like you had a good time. I did, she said, her smile warm but a little uncertain now. It was just a small trip with some old friends. I swallowed hard, trying to keep my emotions in check. Friends, here? I asked, not sure if I was ready for the answer. All of them? She looked at me, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of hesitation in her eyes. What do you mean? I took a deep breath, forcing myself to speak calmly. You tagged him, I said quietly. The guy I've heard about before. The one from before us. He was there. Her face drained of color as she stood up from the couch, clearly caught off guard. I didn't think it would matter, she said quickly. It's not like that. I don't even talk to him much anymore. We just happened to be on the same trip, and I didn't even think to mention it. But the words were already out there, hanging between us, and for the first time, I realized something. The distance between us was more than just the space in our apartment. It was the space between her past and my present. The space I couldn't seem to cross, no matter how hard I tried. I just don't understand, I said, my voice tight. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you mention it? She opened her mouth to speak but closed it again, looking down at the floor. I didn't want to hurt you, she whispered. But I felt the hurt already, deep in my chest. The hurt of realizing that, no matter how much I meant to her, there were parts of her life that I would never be a part of. No matter how many photos we took, no matter how many vacations we went on, I would never be her first, her past would always be there, a shadow that I couldn't outrun. And in that moment, I realized I wasn't just hurt by the photo. I was hurt by the fact that, no matter what we built together, the past would always have a place beside us. The silence between us hung heavy, each passing second stretching longer than the last. She stood there, her body tense, eyes unable to meet mine. I couldn't help but wonder how much longer she had been hiding things, how much more of her past I still didn't know. And suddenly, the weight of everything started to feel too much. The vacation, the laughter, the tags, it all seemed like a carefully constructed illusion, something she had created to show the world the life she wanted them to see, the life we were building together, but I wasn't sure it was real anymore. I didn't think it would matter, she said softly, breaking the silence. Her voice was shaky now, almost apologetic, but it only added to the frustration growing in my chest. It's in the past, and I didn't think you'd want to hear about him. It wasn't like that. I couldn't look at her. I couldn't. The weight of her words, the things that were left unsaid, the fact that there was this part of her life that I hadn't been invited into, it all made me feel like an outsider. Why wasn't I enough? I wanted to scream. Why was he still here, living in the corners of our relationship, hidden behind a smile, behind the facade of a perfectly curated social media post? I took a deep breath, trying to steady my racing thoughts. It matters because it's not just the past anymore, I said, my voice tight but controlled. It's part of you. I don't want to just be the person who gets the leftover bits of your life, who only sees the parts you choose to show. I want to know all of you. All of it. Not just what you think I'll be okay with. Her eyes filled with tears then, and for a moment, it almost felt like the weight of everything was about to break her, about to break both of us. She stepped closer to me, her hands shaking slightly as she reached out for me, but I instinctively pulled back, not knowing what to do, not knowing what the right thing was anymore. I love you, she whispered, her voice barely audible, but I don't know how to make you feel like you're enough when I don't even know how to make sense of my own past. I don't know how to let go of the things I used to hold so tightly to. The honesty in her words hit me harder than anything I had expected. This wasn't about a vacation or a man who had come before me. It was about her struggle to reconcile the woman she had been with the woman she was trying to be now. She wasn't ready to let go of him, and maybe, on some level, she wasn't ready to let go of all the versions of herself she had been before me. I didn't know how to respond to that. How could I tell her I was hurting without making it sound like it was all about me? How could I tell her that, no matter how much I loved her, I couldn't keep giving pieces of myself when she was still holding on to something, someone else? I don't know if I can keep doing this, I said, my voice quieter now, almost defeated. I don't know how to stand here, with you, knowing that there's this whole part of your life that doesn't include me. It's like I'm here, but I'm not fully here for you. And I can't do that anymore. She stepped back, visibly hurt by my words, but I knew they needed to be said. I had been holding it in for so long, trying to be understanding, trying to be patient, but I wasn't sure I had it in me to keep pretending that everything was okay when it wasn't. I don't want to lose you, she said softly, almost pleading now, but I don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to make you feel like you're the one. The only one. That was it. That was the one question that I couldn't answer for her. I didn't know if I could keep waiting, hoping she would choose me, hoping she would see that what we had was real. I didn't know how much longer I could convince myself that I was enough when there was always this doubt lingering at the back of my mind. Was I really the one? Or was I just another chapter in her story, waiting to fade into the background like everyone else who had come before me? You don't have to make me feel like I'm the only one, I said, trying to soften my tone. But I need to know that you're choosing me. That you're choosing us, not just when it's convenient or when it fits into what you want me to see. I need to know that I'm not just here to fill in the gaps, to make things easier. I need to know that you see me, that you're here with me, right now. She nodded, but her face was still full of doubt, of confusion. It was clear she didn't have the answers. And maybe that was the hardest part, realizing that I couldn't force her to be ready, couldn't make her change. She was still grappling with her past, still tangled in a web of memories that she hadn't yet untangled. And I didn't know how much longer I could stay, standing at the edges of her life, waiting for her to make a choice. I'm not asking you to forget about him, I continued, my words feeling heavy in the room. I'm not asking you to erase the past. But I need to know that I'm not just someone filling the space. That I'm not just the now because it's convenient. I need to know that you're truly ready to be here. With me. I'm not sure if I can ever fully be ready, she admitted, her voice breaking. But I want to try. I want to be with you. I want to choose you. But I need time. And I need you to understand that it's not easy. I don't know how to let go of everything all at once. I stared at her, hearing the words, processing them, but still not sure where I stood. Could I wait for her to be ready? Could I keep pushing aside the nagging doubt, the hurt that crept in with every shared memory that didn't include me? I didn't know. I don't have forever, I said, the weight of the truth settling over me. I can't keep giving you time, when I don't know what it's leading to. I can't keep holding on to something that doesn't feel like it's mine. She didn't respond right away. Instead, she just stared at me, tears welling up in her eyes, but she didn't look away. I wanted to reach out, to comfort her, to tell her that we could figure it out. But the truth was, I wasn't sure we could. Finally, after a long silence, she spoke. I don't want to lose you, she repeated, this time more firmly. I want to choose us. But I need time. And if you can't wait, I understand. I wanted to tell her I would wait. I wanted to tell her that I could give her the time she needed, that I could be patient. But in my heart, I knew I couldn't. Not like this. Not when I was already starting to feel like a second choice. I can't wait forever, I said softly. I need to know that you're choosing me, too. And I need to know that we're moving forward. Together. Her lips trembled, but she nodded, as if she finally understood the weight of what I was asking. I'll try, she whispered. I will. But I can't promise when. And as I walked away from her, I didn't know if we had a future anymore. All I knew was that we were at a crossroads. And I couldn't keep standing in the middle, waiting for a decision that wasn't mine to make. The days that followed felt like a slow, painful unraveling. We still spoke, we still spent time together, but there was a tension in the air that neither of us could ignore. The silence between us grew, suffocating in its presence. She needed time, and I had promised I would give it to her, but the promise felt like a weight on both of us, hanging there, heavy with unspoken words. She kept saying she was trying, that she wanted to choose me, but the more she said it, the less I felt it. Her actions were uncertain, and it felt like I was watching a movie in which I wasn't even sure of my role anymore. Each night, when I lay next to her, I could feel the space between us. It wasn't just physical. It wasn't about the way she lay with her back turned slightly to mine or the way we didn't reach out to touch each other before sleep. It was emotional, this distance, an invisible wall that neither of us knew how to break. I had been giving her the time she asked for, but the more time passed, the more I questioned if it would ever be enough. She had spent the days away from me, her phone always on vibrate, her laptop closed when I walked by. It wasn't that I was looking for something. I wasn't checking up on her. I wasn't trying to invade her privacy, but the cracks in our relationship were getting bigger. And the silence was more telling than any conversation we could have. A few days after that night, I found myself scrolling through her social media again, against my better judgment. I hated that I was doing it, but something pulled me back to that post, the one where I first saw his name, where I first felt the sting of the past. I told myself I wouldn't do it, but I clicked on the tags again, searching for something I couldn't explain. And there it was, a new post, just a picture of her standing on a balcony at sunset, the orange glow lighting up her face. She looked beautiful, serene, but I couldn't stop staring at the comments, searching for any hint of an answer that might make sense of everything that had been weighing on me. Such a beautiful view. You look amazing, one comment read. Another, wish I could be there with you. And then I saw it, his comment. The one I had been dreading. Remember this place. It feels like forever ago. But still so perfect. It wasn't just the message itself. It was the familiarity of it. The way she responded with a laughing emoji, her words so casual, like nothing had changed. It does feel like forever ago. But it was perfect. I slammed my phone down on the table, a rush of anger rising in my chest, not at her, but at the way everything felt like a reminder of someone I could never be. Someone who had left a mark on her that I couldn't erase, no matter how hard I tried. The truth was, I hadn't been the one to her, not the way I wanted to be. I wasn't the first person she thought of when she was in a new place, making new memories. I was just the person who had been chosen after everything else had fallen apart. I felt like a fool, clinging to something that wasn't truly mine, desperately trying to make her see me the way I saw her. But the truth was, she was still stuck in her own web, still caught in a past that she wasn't ready to let go of. I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't keep pretending that I was okay when it felt like I was being buried under the weight of everything unsaid. I decided to confront her. I knew I had to. The waiting, the wondering, it wasn't going to solve anything. I needed clarity. I needed to hear her say it, that she had chosen me, that I was enough for her. That evening, I found her sitting in the living room, her legs crossed beneath her, eyes fixed on her phone. She looked up when I walked in, her expression softening slightly, but there was still a hesitance in her eyes. She could tell something was wrong. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steady, though my heart was racing. She put her phone down slowly, her eyes searching mine. "What's wrong?" I sat down beside her, the distance between us feeling like miles. "I saw the post. The one you shared this morning." She winced, her fingers curling into her palms as though bracing herself for the impact. "I didn't mean for you to see that," she said quietly. "Why didn't you tell me about him?" I asked, my voice softer now, but still carrying the weight of the question. "Why is he still a part of your life? Why does he get to be part of your memories when I'm right here, trying to be everything for you?" Her eyes filled with tears, and she wiped them away quickly, but I could see the guilt, the shame, in her face. "I didn't think it mattered," she said. "I didn't think you'd care about him anymore." "I care because he's a part of you," I said, frustration creeping into my voice. "And I don't want to be left behind. I need to know if you're really here, with me. Or if I'm just someone filling in the space." "I am here," she said, her voice trembling now. "But you don't understand. He's not just a person in my past. He's a part of me. And I don't know how to make you understand that without making you feel like you're not enough." I could feel the lump in my throat, the tears that threatened to rise. "I don't want to feel like I'm not enough," I whispered. "But I can't keep pretending that I'm not second to something that isn't even here anymore." "I don't want to hurt you," she said, her voice cracking. "I want to be with you. I want to choose you, but I don't know how to let go of everything that's still inside me. It's not just about him. It's about me. It's about who I am now and who I was before. I'm still trying to figure it out." "I can't wait forever," I said, the words heavier than I meant them to be. "I need to know that you're here with me. That you're choosing me, and not just holding on to what came before." Her shoulders slumped as if the weight of my words had crushed her. "I want to choose you," she whispered. "But I don't know how to do that when there's so much I'm still holding on to." We sat there in silence, the space between us thick and cold. I wanted to reach out, to comfort her, to tell her that I could wait, that we could figure this out. But I couldn't. Not like this. I couldn't keep pretending that everything was fine when it wasn't. "I don't know what's going to happen between us," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I need you to understand that I'm still learning how to let go of the past. And I need time to figure out how to move forward." I nodded, my heart heavy with the weight of it all. "I need time too," I said softly. "But I can't keep waiting for something that might never come." The truth hung in the air between us, a painful, undeniable truth. We were both trying, but we weren't ready for the same things. And as much as I wanted to hold on, I couldn't keep forcing myself to wait for a decision that wasn't mine to make. The following days were marked by an unsettling quiet, the kind of silence that doesn't come from peace but from an understanding that something is broken and neither person knows how to fix it. We still shared the same space, ate meals together, and talked about trivial things. But the weight of the unspoken lingered like a thick fog between us. Her smile, when it came, felt distant, and every word she spoke seemed to carry a hesitance that hadn't been there before. I could feel myself slowly unraveling. I had promised her space, promised that I would give her time, but the longer I waited, the more I realized that I wasn't sure how much longer I could hold on to this, to her, to us. Every time I saw her looking at her phone, every time she laughed with her friends, it was as though I was on the outside of her life, watching her move forward without me. It wasn't just about the photos, about the man from her past, it was about the fact that I wasn't sure if I was her present anymore. I spent long hours walking around the city, not really going anywhere, just trying to sort through my thoughts. I thought about everything she had said, about her struggle to let go of the past, and how I was supposed to fit into her future. I thought about how I had tried to reassure her, tried to convince myself that we could overcome this, that time and patience would solve everything. But the more I thought about it, the clearer it became, it wasn't just time that we needed. It was honesty, openness, a willingness to choose each other fully, without hesitation. I had never felt so torn in my life. I loved her, but I didn't know how to keep loving her when I wasn't sure she was fully present with me. I couldn't stand the thought of being her second choice, of waiting for her to figure it out while I was left in limbo, hoping she'd choose me when she was ready. But she hadn't made that choice, not yet. And I was beginning to doubt whether she ever would. The night I finally came back to the apartment, the tension was palpable. I could feel it in my bones. She was sitting on the couch, the TV on in the background, but her eyes weren't on the screen. She was lost in thought, like she was waiting for something, for me, maybe, or for the moment when everything would finally fall into place. I stood in the doorway for a moment, just watching her. It felt like we were on the edge of something, and I didn't know if it was a new beginning or the end of everything we had. She glanced up at me, and for the first time in days, her expression wasn't guarded. It was raw, vulnerable. She saw the uncertainty in my eyes, the question I had been avoiding for so long. She knew I couldn't keep pretending that everything was fine. "I don't want to lose you," she said softly, the words coming out more like a plea than a promise. "But I don't know if I'm ready to let go of everything that's still with me. I don't know if I'm ready to choose." I took a step closer, my heart pounding in my chest. "Then what are we doing?" I asked, the frustration finally breaking through. "Because I can't keep doing this. I can't keep giving you pieces of myself when you're still holding on to someone else. I need to know, now, if you're ready to be with me, truly be with me. Or if I'm just the guy who's here because he's the next best thing." She winced at my words, but I couldn't apologize. Not anymore. I had spent so much time being patient, trying to understand her struggle, trying to be the good partner, but it was suffocating. I couldn't keep holding on to something that wasn't real. "I am ready to be with you," she whispered, her voice breaking. "But I don't know how to let go of what's inside me. I don't know how to move forward when the past keeps pulling me back. I'm scared, okay? I'm scared of making the wrong choice. And I don't want to lose you. But I can't promise you I'm completely ready to leave him behind. I can't promise you that." I stood there, staring at her, my chest tight with a pain I didn't want to acknowledge. The truth was clearer now, but it hurt more than anything I had felt before. She wasn't ready. She was still holding on to a part of her life, and that part didn't include me. Not in the way I needed it to. "Then I guess we're done," I said, the words slipping out like they were being ripped from me. "Because I can't wait forever. I can't keep being the one who's patient and understanding when I'm the one who's left in the shadows. I can't keep being second." I turned away, my heart pounding in my chest. I could feel her eyes on me, but I couldn't bring myself to look at her again. It was like everything that had built between us had crumbled in an instant, and I wasn't sure I could pick it back up. I grabbed my things, moved toward the door, but when I opened it, I hesitated. Something in me didn't want to leave. Something in me didn't want to give up, didn't want to walk away from her. I loved her, and part of me still believed that we could figure it out. But the other part, the part that had been slowly suffocating for weeks, knew that I couldn't keep waiting. I closed the door behind me softly, the finality of it settling in. I didn't look back. The night air hit me like a cold wave as I walked out into the street. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears, feel the weight of the decision I had just made. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. I couldn't keep living in the uncertainty, caught between her past and the future that never seemed to materialize. I didn't know what would happen next. I didn't know if I had made the right choice. But for the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of relief. A sense of freedom, even if it came at the cost of everything I had wanted. I walked away from her, not knowing if I would ever go back.